Hey, how's everybody doing? Listen, I'm getting a little upset with a lot of my friends out there that are screaming the Republicans this and the Republicans. My hair's crazy. The Republicans this and the Republicans that. I hate all politicians, all right? And I'm an equal hater. I hate them on both sides of the, whatever you want to call it, the aisle. But apparently people have forgotten these famous people that I'm going to mention right now. Lester Maddox, Orville Faubus, George Wallace, Strom Thurmond, Olin D. Johnston, and Horatio Seymour. These were segregationists. These were people that did not like black people. We all know about Maddox in Georgia, Faubus in, I forget where, in Wallace in Alabama. Strom Thurmond was the only Republican on that list. Everybody else is a Democrat. Horatio Seymour was a Democratic governor of the state of New York. This is not new, this segregationist attitude, this racist attitude. But to say it's strictly a Republican idea is stupid. It's a white people's idea. It's got nothing to do with political parties. Okay, read the stories about what these guys did back in the day. How you had what was it, Sheriff Jim Clark, who pistol whipped people. You know, I mean, come on, people. This is the you're sitting around blaming the Republicans for everything. Yeah, what's going on in a lot of the issues today are, but when it comes to racism, it's not a Republican, it's not a Democratic, it's a white people problem. Okay. Forget the political parties. It's a white people problem, and it needs to be addressed. And if you don't want to address it, that's fine. You just then just go stick your head in the sand, run away. All right. I've said many times that I personally believe that because of what my mom told me and everything like that, and things that I've seen over the years, that it's impossible for us to get to go on as simply a white nation or a black nation. We need to be able to do it together. And it seems like the only time we come together is during a war, and I don't want to see a war solve these problems. The South has been the South since before the Civil War. It's still the same. Nothing's changing down there. It may change in the major cities, but if you go into the rural counties, black people can still be lynched. They're better at making them disappear now. You know, back then they would find bodies hanging. Now they just make them disappear. It's the Ku Klux Klan still exists. Now it's joined with hands with the Nazi Party and the skinheads and all this, and it's all about white supremacy. All right, that's what marched on the Capitol. Those are who marched on the Capitol. They weren't Republicans. They weren't Democrats. They were racists. They were white racists. Okay? If it was a political party issue, there would have been black people marching down there too, but there weren't. There were white people marching on the Capitol. This is what I get frustrated listening to all this bullshit about. Well, the Republicans did. Yeah, it's not. That's not the Republicans. It's not the Democrats. It's not the Independents. It's not the Communist Party. It's white people like me. Okay, people that look like me. Can you see that? I'm white. All right, I'm so white I scare myself. I'm blending into the background. I'm so white. We can't have this black-white issue because it's gonna keep us from moving forward as a country. All right, it's gonna force us to move backwards. Okay, it's you have two things very wrong in this country. One is the racism issue, and the other is the financial inequality. All right, and they say, well, that's a racist issue too. Well, yes and no. I'm white and I'm not rich. I'm not part of any of that stuff. They have it's a very small. I think it's something like 3% of the population controls 79% of the money, or something like that, or 84% of the money now. I think it is. That's ridiculous to have these people walking around with so much control. You see it really down here, where I live in Colombia. You got these guys like Carlos Slim and other people that control the media and whatnot. You can't get news to really know what's going on. You find out about it after the fact, days after the fact in some cases, after it's been sanitized. I don't know what to tell you, but how to work this out so that we can get racial equality, financial equality. It's just, it's like I've never had a problem. I did. I take that back. I had a problem one time when I was tending bar with a woman coming in and working because she was flashing her tits. She did not have the ability to do the job as the guys that were working with me did. Eventually she learned, but she was given a position based upon her sexuality. I think that was wrong. Now, that's one small incident. I have worked with people in offices that deserved the money. Most of them a lot of them made more money than me, and they deserved every penny of it, either because of their education or their knowledge of the job, or what have you. Okay, if you can do the job, that's why I don't like unions. I give you an example of a problem with a union. My father was controller of, I forget, Georgia Bonded Fabrics, I think was the name of the company, something like that. Anyhow, they were up in New York State or New Hampshire, someplace like that. And my father wanted to promote this guy who didn't have a lot of time in the company, but the guy knew the warehouse floor, knew the job inside and out. Couldn't find anybody better. He couldn't give him the job because he had no seniority. The union wouldn't let him be promoted. The union forced a totally unqualified gentleman to get the job simply because he'd been there a lot of years, more years. All right. Then they made this other guy his assistant, who had to do all the work, but wasn't getting the recognition or the pay. My father went nuts over that. I go nuts over stuff like that. All right. If you're a woman and you're working next to me and you can do the job, I don't care if it's swinging a sledgehammer, although, oh well. But, I don't care what the job entails. If you're a woman and you can do the job, you deserve to get paid the same as me. All right? If you're smarter than me and you're better at your job than me, then you deserve to get more than me. And that's my fault. That's not your fault that you're going to get paid more than me. It's my fault. I shouldn't sit there and complain about it and say, oh, gee, that's not fair. Yeah, it is. That's fair. You can do the job better than me. You should be paid more than me. All right? I fought hard in all my jobs to be as good as I possibly could. In a lot of cases, I was the best. In some cases, maybe not so much. All right? I own my own business, and I worked hard. I took this ethic into the business. I had to do the best job possible. And if that meant I had to do the work, I did the work. But I had no problems if a woman could come along and do the same thing. It's like, is there a problem because the guy's black? What difference does that make? You don't want to eat food cooked by a black person? You would rather have it cooked by, well, I shouldn't say that. That's a wrong attitude to take. A lot of them are illegal, Latinos and whatnot, that work in kitchens because they work cheaper. But that's not the point. I mean, I don't know. I worked next to an old black guy from North Carolina that worked harder than anybody ever. He was like 66 years old or something like that. Back then I was what? I was 50, 20 years ago. And it was, the guy was fantastic. The guy could outwork me. And we got along fabulous. Except I couldn't understand him because he was from the rural South. And that was like, talking to somebody from Brooklyn in the old days. But if you can do the job, you deserve the job. there was stuff that was going on. They put this what do they call it? Affirmative action or something like that. When black people were given scholarships to go to school and whatnot, they were given priorities, and some kid out in California sued the UCLA or some school like that, what they call reverse discrimination. He didn't get the scholarship he wanted. It was awarded to a black guy instead. During the trial, they sat down and put the qualifications up. The black guy was more qualified than the white kid was. End of the conversation. Okay, that ended that conversation right then and there. That's all you gotta be, is more qualified. Study hard, work hard. If you're black, fine. If you're white. But don't deny these people because they're black. Do not deny them because they're Latino. Do not deny them because they're a woman. They deserve equality. You know, people quote the Bible. They quote everything else to bring about segregation. All right. Biologically speaking, there's no difference between a black person and a white person other than a pigment in the skin. Okay. They burn. They turn pink just like us. It's disgraceful that people go around and look at a person who's black and say he's no good, he's a nigger, he's an asshole, he's scum, or a Latino. All right, I'm more accustomed to in New Jersey. I was more accustomed to seeing the Latinos get put down and women be getting put down than I were the black people. The black people sort of had, where I lived anyhow, had the edge, and they had achieved political parity and whatnot, so they were fairly well off, not completely well off, but they were fairly well off. There were still people that hated them, called them niggers. My father did. You know, that got me in a lot of trouble as a kid coming to New Jersey. You know, I've told that story. I'm not going to go through it again, but it makes no sense. And what they're doing right now by passing these voter laws and what have you is going to be bringing about a serious confrontation that this country doesn't need right now. It's probably not that bad right now because of the COVID virus and the quarantines and whatnot, and the fact that there's a lot of different laws keeping you in your house right now. Otherwise, you'd see a lot more people in the streets and quite possibly a lot more violence. All right. Okay. Listen, I'm ranting and raving, and I'm starting to lose my train of thought here. So I'll just say, I'll see you soon. Think about what I'm saying, though. All right. Think about that. You know, look at the person next to you, the color of their skin, their sex, their sexuality. Are they male? Are they female? Can they do the job as well as you, if not better? Then they should be getting the same amount of money you're getting. All right. I mean, based upon, all right. Let me come back to that seniority thing. All things being equal. If you all have the same qualifications, and yes, the person that's been there longer deserves some consideration, so long as they're doing the job at what they're supposed to be doing, you know. But if they're not, I'm sorry to say they have to go, but they have to go, you know. But there's a lot of people, there's a discrimination against old people like me. I mean, especially down here. They sort of stick you in a corner down here. I go to family parties, I'm stuck in a corner. Basically, one, because I don't speak the language, and two, I have absolutely no interest in anything they're talking about. You know, I'm not from this country. I don't care. You know, I mean, their views of politics don't agree with mine all the time. But this, if you're equal to the person next to you in ability and whatnot, but they have more time, then they should be with the company, then they should be given consideration. But if they're not as qualified as you, and whether they have more time or not, then they shouldn't get the job. They shouldn't be put ahead of you. That's a point I'm trying to make. It should be based upon the qualifications, not upon age or color or whether you're male or female. All right. Right now, as far as I can tell, there's not one job that a woman can't do as equal as a man or better than a man. All right. All right. That's it. Now I'm heading out. You guys have take care.